Dave, did the email say that thing was going on Saturday?
He said he's going on Saturday.
He is?
He texted me when I texted response.
He's hit his, go back to your, he's hit his daily number or whatever it is?
14 days.
He's hit his quarantine or whatever?
Yeah, probably just
Thursday it'll be up.
Yeah, you might be like
Ready to go?
at the door looking at his watch.
Then I won't call over then.
I'd like to call the government house meeting to order. First order of business, I will need motion to accept the minutes of September 22nd, 2020 meeting. Do I have such motion?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Paul, do I have a second? Thank you, Matt. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next order of business is buildings and grounds updates. Matt Jones, where are you hiding? There you are. Off mute, please, Matt. Off mute.
There you go. Is that better?
Much better. Maybe, I'll see what you gotta say.
The first update is about the Burgoyne building. We're in the process of moving code over there right now. They're going to be occupying 2 of the rooms down across from Board of Elections. The second update on the building is the roof, which is the big, deal right now. We're in the process of discussing with the engineers and architects when the best time to put the roof out to bid is. As everybody knows right now, building supplies are through the roof. So I don't think, one way to look at it is supplies are going to cost more. Right now, labor is probably going to be the best deal. So we're kind of weighing it out to see when we're going to put it out to bid. I'm kind of hoping for spring work, but if the price of building materials keeps going up, then, we could cost us much more than what we wanted to.
Okay.
For right now, I guess that's our biggest things going as far as updates is that building, moving people around. The generator repair down at the law center is done. So we kind of came in on target. We're working with getting an insurance claim settled with that. I don't really have much else right now. We're just, we're moving the public defender down to the old Board of Elections. That's of any interest.
That's, be good, help relieve some of their space. Parks all closed up?
The parks are closed up. They will be doing the dredging project next door, which you'll see some equipment on our property, which we allow, we're not using any of our resources, but we are allowing them to use our property to access the lake to get to do the dredging project. I think that's going to start anytime.
Okay. Any other questions for Chris? Or for Matt? Chris had a question, I knew that.
Matt, going back to the roof, so as we were discussing this morning, biggest variable at this point is the price of construction material and how big or how busy the contractors are. But so far, the engineers haven't run into anything that they're telling you, okay, this is going to be 50% more than we originally thought it was going to be, or anything like that, right? So it's all kind of, we're still in the right ballpark, but it's going to depend on building materials. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. I have a meeting with them this afternoon or tomorrow. I got to look to start going over that stuff and get their best guess opinion. They're in the business every day, so hopefully I'll get filled in a little bit.
Okay. Dan Shaw?
Yeah, this is more for Chris. is there a difference or concern to us whether we do it this fall or whether we do it in the spring as far as for use? I mean, what is our plans there? I know that we've talked about it, that it, you know, like nurses can't, health department can't get moved down there, but I know that a lot of different variables, and sometimes moving the easiest time for like code enforcement would be the winter time, and you can't if the roof's not repaired.
So we're moving code enforcement in there now. That precipitated because of the addition of staff there. They literally just could not fit in Annex 1 anymore. Plus, since the beginning of this in March, I wanted to kind of isolate and insulate public health as much as possible. So we are moving code enforcement now. I think as Matt was saying, our ideal would be for this to be a spring project, right? And ideally, like first on a contractor's work list for the 2021 construction season. That being said, I think we have to weigh, is the pricing of things right now, if that's going to inflate the price 20 or 30%, we have to have a hard decision of, do we get it done first thing in the spring like we would really like it to, or do we hold off, let the RFP in the spring when prices hopefully have stabilized a little bit more? Then we're probably looking at fall of 21 or early spring of 22, and then that's going to be Matt and the engineers really weighing out, okay, can the building make it that long? So unfortunately, this has complicated it significantly. Our original plan was to try to let it like now, in the next 2 weeks, have a price back, be first on the construction schedule, and, early April, just get it done. But I don't know if that's realistic now.
Well, with the Leslie, and from Board of Elections, she said they have to put buckets out everywhere. And I know winter, when snow doesn't run off, it melts down slow. Are we gonna start having more damage, not necessarily to the building, but to the people and the contents inside?
We've tried to be strategic in where we have put people so that we're not ruining equipment, obviously, but yes, that is definitely a concern.
Matt?
Okay, so at the risk of being labeled a troublemaker,
Being labeled?
so I'm a little concerned that the trains left the station, we're waving it as it's going bye-bye. I think we don't even have the consultant's results back yet. We paid $50,000 for the roofing consultant to come in and do a project. We don't have that back yet. I'm concerned that I think there's around, Brian, $850,000 in the capital plan now, with the budgeted amount for next year about $164,000, so we're around $1 million, give or take. Shouldn't we have an in-depth discussion to say, what are our short-term capital project needs and our long-term capital project needs, so we can all build a consensus that the roof is the next thing, and based upon the consultant engineer's report, we all buy in that that's the thing we're gonna do next? Because I didn't think it was a fait accompli already, that we decided that and it's gonna go ahead and it's all done. I mean, what if we could find out next spring there's another capital project issue that is more important? We said, oh crap, we've already committed to the roof. Shouldn't we have that discussion PDQ to know where we are? And you can't have that discussion until we get that engineer's report, consultant's report back. Or am I way off base here? I've got a major concern about this.
So as we discussed, maybe at finance, the plan is to have a discussion with the board about the capital plan at the November finance meeting. That's kind of the spirit of the question that I was asking Matt Jones earlier. The engineering report isn't really going to tell the board anything other than, okay, we've got the engineering done, we have bid documents ready to go out, our price estimate is still roughly what it was when we started the project.
Do we know that?
That's what I just asked Matt. Yes. There's nothing in there that they found that said, okay, this is going to increase or decrease the price by 50%. So right now, we're still in the $1 million ballpark. What's going to really impact that is materials and how busy contractors
So
are.
the consultant's report is done?
They're in the final stages. It's not a report so much as it's a prep of bid document.
Matt Jones has a comment?
Just to clear that up, the original engineering and estimates were done months ago. We moved from that to actually getting it engineered. We didn't move forward with the engineering until we actually had a, you know, an estimated cost of the roof. And like Chris just said, the next step is to put it out to bid. We already have the engineers, everything done. We've paid for that, and I can't remember exactly how much, but that was months ago that we went through the whole, you know, assess the roof and how much it would cost.
Oh, that is done? How come we didn't see it?
You did. You, in fact, when we saw it, we decided to move forward with the engineering to engineer the project. So now the next step is to put it out to bid. I don't have it in front of me, but that's, you did see it probably 6 months ago.
Does other supervisors, have they seen it? Have you guys seen it?
I think when we voted on going forward with the extra engineering was when it was out there, correct?
Correct?
When the estimate came out, I guess I just assumed that's how we arrived at the estimate. I can't say that I saw the report, the breakdown or anything. I just think that's how we got to that number. I don't remember how it was presented. We had a number. I just thought we got a number.
That's all we ever had.
And then we got to go out for the next round of engineering that we needed. So
Right.
that's where the number came from, but I guess we didn't see the actual report ourselves. It was just given to us, the number. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, I think so.
I think that's how it was about.
So are we gonna investigate into this in depth, or are we just gonna head down that path?
Yeah, in fact,
That's-
it was interesting. I sent a text to Chris last night saying, oh, maybe we might want to do that tomorrow due to the things that were coming up, but just timing wise, we couldn't make all that happen.
Yeah, because I was looking at the
Because
capital
we were
plan.
looking into it at finance.
Yeah, my plan was to do it at finance.
Yeah, so, but then the way things were going, I said, you know, maybe we should be doing it in government ops, it would be quicker, and we'd hear it twice when we heard it in finance. Because sometimes you hear something the first time, and then the next time is when you really sinks in, and the third time you finally get it, and I just wish that we had, you know, but
Well, I guess,
budget and all that, it's hard to get all these things going at once.
I guess, Mr. Hicks, I'm a little nonplussed because the board doesn't usually look at an engineering report, right?
We look at the results of an engineering report. If they're not finished yet, how can we be up to date and informed about what our next move
Well, we
is?
had 2 reports.
Yeah, so I guess Matt Jones reported out probably 5 or 6 months ago and said the preliminary engineering is done. We still think it's $1 million estimate. We need an additional, I think it was $55,000 to complete the engineering bid documents, and we needed an additional like $15,000 to do the hazardous material removal engineering. And so I thought, we had a discussion with the board at that time that we were on pace, we had completed the first phase, we were ready for phase 2, we did a budget amendment, we got the funds appropriated. And then as Matt's been reporting out, we've been finalizing that stage. Now, kind of the next hurdle is to go out to bid to get an actual price tag on it, that then you all can talk to the budget officer about as far as how that fits into the capital plan and the contribution from general fund to the capital plan. Is there enough to cover it? Is that the priority of the board?
Shouldn't we have the discussion about that, the priority of the board, before we put it out for bid?
And we would.
Well, so I guess that's a little bit of a chicken and the egg, because if we try to have that priority discussion, people are gonna ask how much it costs. We don't know how much it costs until we
Well,
put
you
it
told
out.
me it costs $1 million, the preliminary engineering's already done, and that number hasn't changed.
That's what we've been telling you all along. Now, we're saying we can't get a firmer number until we go to bid. And just because we go to bid doesn't mean we're gonna do it.
I saw Matt Jones has another comment.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna agree with Chris. We haven't stepped out of line in any other you know, this is the same process of any other project. We've vetted it out, and I think 2 months ago, I got it approved at committee to put it out to bid so we could find out. And I think it was either last month or the month before, we had that discussion too, that we were gonna put it out to bid and get the final price. Once we get the price, we don't have to accept the job. But that's what gives us. If it comes in at 750,000, then it is. If it comes in at 1.2, that's what, you know, that's what it is, but that's the real price.
We made a motion to this committee to put it out to bid.
I'd have to go back and look, but I think we talked about it.
Yeah.
There's a difference there, but, okay.
Yeah, I have to go back. I have no idea.
Brian, you have another comment?
Well, my bigger question is, to tie the whole thing together, once we write the bid, it doesn't cost us any more to send it out the second time. But why wouldn't we send out the bid to get the number for spring, and if we don't like the number, bid it again in the spring for later on? Because we always can vote down the bids. So I guess if it's way out of line, we'd say no, and we bid it again when the prices change. Well,
I agree.
hopefully they're not in favor.
I agree, Brian. That was what the plan was, and that's what we had discussed, I thought we had discussed in the previous
I mean,
meeting.
I would put it out for bid to find out where we're at, and then if we really are not happy, we'll wait and see, and the prices go down. I mean, I talked to, one of the suppliers the other day on PVC, and he said PVC and resins will be up this week 30 to 300%. And I'm like, why? And he just said, beats me, but I don't know how much to even get in, because I don't want to sit on it with that kind of extreme price in it.
Yeah.
So it's not just wood now it's everything. It's what we're up against.
Dan, John?
Yeah, Matt or Chris, whoever wants to answer this question. When you put it out to bid, doesn't it set out there for a couple months for a bid to be responded to?
We set the guidelines, can be a month or two, whatever we feel like is appropriate.
And secondly, can they do that roof in the wintertime?
I'm gonna be asking those questions, before we put it out to bid, and if they could do it in the winter, if it's, if it is costly, if there's snow on the roof, are they clearing it? I'm gonna find out more of that information probably, like I said, in the next day or two. My guess is we prefer to do it in the spring, in better weather. That's just my experience of roofing, not necessarily this roof, but.
Right, so really, there's really not much hope of doing anything, no matter when you put it out to bid this spring.
Even if we put it out to bid, it'll be spring, yes.
Yeah, so there's nothing to do this fall. But I think we want to stay on top of this, especially if we're moving people into and starting to use it. I mean, it's got to be a priority, unless something breaks down. It almost has to be the next thing on the capital
What's
plan.
second, third, and fourth on the list?
Huh?
What's second, third, and fourth on the list?
I have no idea.
That's my point.
But I almost think if you're moving people into a building, you got to know and agree on that this is important.
Maybe we shouldn't be moving people to the building. I mean, I'm just saying, let's get a priority and set it up and.
I have no problem with that logic. I'm just saying, but we are moving them in. Whether you like it or don't like it or don't agree with it, we are, and so we got to deal with it or change things. And I don't know where you put code enforcement right now. If we've outgrown that, and the nurses need more rooms. I mean, to me, it's just a logical movement what we're doing. It's just that I think that becomes the most important. That's just my feeling.
So, yes, Brian?
So, if you remember, we had panels all over this building before we replaced the roof. I don't know if that roof's as bad or worse than this one was.
Quick.
And then when they redid this one, we had panels again, because they had to come back and fix it after they put the new one on. So this isn't unusual. We didn't move everybody out because the roof was leaking. We just did what it took to make it happen. So, and I don't think it's in such a degree that we can't use the building down there. I think we can move people in certain places. There's places we'd rather we didn't. And if there's walls to move, things like that, that's a whole different idea. But I think we still have the opportunity. I think code enforcement's still moving now.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's gonna keep us from doing a lot of things, because you couldn't move everybody to once anyway. Well, I think we need to move forward, but I don't think we have to be so cognizant that it's the only thing we can do. I mean, like I said, just like in our budget, priorities change. We could be in the middle of that roof and something happens that we have to change. Heaven forbid that's not gonna be the case, but you have to prioritize, and that's what
As we review our prioritization, shouldn't we continue the process to put the bid out and see what the numbers
the
are?
only way you'll know what it costs.
I mean, priorities change based on what happens, so I know we're gonna go, in 2 weeks, gonna go over the capital plan. I don't have to do it earlier, but we'll go over the comp plan, or you can consider doing it the 28th after the special meeting, when you do the budget.
Bob Henke had a great idea. He saw the guy on the commercial with the spray can there that made the screen flow. He said if we did that, he thought it would work.
Matt Jones?
Just take a lot of can.
Just before we get off the subject, a little clarity for me. I believe in all the minutes and stuff, you're gonna find that we've approved to go out to bid. If it's just, you're gonna have to do something to undo that, or else I'm gonna continue forward with the process of going out to bid.
So,
Does anyone want to change that process or make a motion to change that process at this point? So the direction still is they're gonna go out to bid, see what comes up with, and we still have a lot of decisions to make.
Sure. That'll
Any
give
other
you more
comments?
numbers to make your decision. That's all. That's what I'm trying to provide is the harder numbers so you can make your decisions. And we've already paid for that. So we're not asking for more money to put it out to bid to get that hard number.
If we have the bid documents ready, we can reuse them at any time after that.
You're more than welcome. They're 100 and something pages long if if you're interested in that kind of reading. I don't
No,
think
thank
so.
you.
But, I guess that if we're done with that, I can move on to the Annex 1, the 100-year-old foundation drains. Seem to have filled up and collapsed, which is causing a flooding problem in that building when it rains. We don't have the solution yet, but I would like to thank DPW and the sewer district for their use of their equipment and expertise with drains and everything else. We've been working for the last couple of weeks on like an old set of prints that probably isn't, buildings have been built since then. So we don't have a great idea of where all the infrastructure goes out there. We're making progress. We're hoping to at least get something draining without tearing up that parking lot to give it a new drain. But right now, the basement has been flooding when it rains.
Okay.
So we've got problems with water above and water below. In a dry year, to say,
Yeah, okay. Any other questions for Matt on that? Matt, you got anything else?
That's all.
Okay. Any other questions for Matt? Any other topics? Moving on, Real Property Services wants to bring us more money. Laura, you're up.
Hi, Dave. Yes, I'd like to update our fee schedule for fees that we charge for products that we provide to the public and some governments, mainly banking institutions also. We haven't upgraded our fee schedule since 2015, I think it is. We made a change, 2018, we made a change. We brought the aerial photos up $1. Prior to that, it was in 2014 when we added our laminator and we had to add our laminating fees. So some of these fees haven't been changed or updated in many, many years. You should have been included with your packet, a list of products and services that we provide. So I wanted to go through them. If everybody's wants to go line by line, I can kind of hit on the different things.
I wanted to see, Debbie, can you bring that up on share screen, please?
It's a rather messy document, but we'll get it all cleaned up here when we get this.
Okay. So you start going down through a little bit of this.
Okay.
Want to start with the tax map?
Sure. The first one, the tax maps that were black and white, we don't even have that machine anymore. That used to be where we put the Mylar paper in and the printed paper came out the bottom. So we don't even have that machine anymore. So that needs to kind of go away. That was what we called our black and white tax maps. And then at one point we got a colored printer and we were able to print colored tax maps. So that's what was used to be number 2 is the tax maps in color, but that's now how all our tax maps are. The only actual color in those maps are the water, any water. But we'd like to increase the size of that. We have 2 different sizes for that, as we've always had. Just adding like $3 for each map that we provide. Another thing that we seem to be doing a lot of is what was number 2 was the map sheets. We seem to be scanning a lot of blueprints and things for code enforcement. If one of their, somebody's put in some building permits, doesn't have an additional copy and they want one, and this would be the owner of the property, we can scan those in, or any other sheet that we may scan in for any other public. We do these on a regular basis for local we do these on a regular basis for inter-county departments, but for the public, we do charge. So the map, what used to be the map sheet number 3 would be number 2. And we have 3 different sizes and they would be the same price as our regular tax map size paper, except for the small one, which would be an 8.5 by 11 if somebody wants something scanned in. When we scan in those sheets, we can also save them as a PDF so that if the purchaser or the other county department wants it as a PDF, we can send that to them also at no additional fee. The next thing was number 4, now number 3, specialized GIS maps or PDFs. The laminate information we've moved to a whole different section. It's not that we're not laminating anymore. That will be further down the list. Just updating those prices on those. For the small, we're going from 15 to 20 on plain paper. We do have glossy photo paper, so we can go from 20 to 25 on the photo paper. Medium is going from 20 to 25, same thing, $5 increase for the glossy photo paper. The large 24 to 36 size would go from $30 to $35 and 35 to 40. And the poster size, which is a real large size, would go from 40 to 45 and 45 to 50. Aerial photos is on the next page. That was number 5, now number 4. This is what we seem to do the most of lately. This would be an aerial photo of someone's property. It shows the parcel boundaries on there. And we can also send it as a PDF. This is increasing the price on a small size from 7 to 10, or if they want it on the photo paper. Medium size 8 is $15 to $20. Same thing, increase for glossy photo, and the large is 20 to 25, and poster size going up $5 in each increment. Number 6, that was number 5, is going to be laminated documents, and that would be laminating anything we just spoke about in the prior listing, which would be from anything from number 1 to number 3. If anybody want, or number 4, excuse me, if anybody want them laminated, it would be just a laminated price based on the size of the paper. What we did was we were not selling a lot of the really large laminate, poster size laminated documents. Our price was high on that. It was additional $50 and additional $60 to get those laminated. So we're going to be asking to bring that price down, actually, just because we have had the sale on anything that size. When people find out the cost, they don't want to do that. So we'd like to bring that down more in range with our other regular laminates that we do. We do topo maps with aerial photos. That would go up. We have had some increase on for that, and that is work included in that document to have the GIS person prepare that. So that would be, we're increasing that. The year-old set of tax maps, we don't even keep those anymore. As a paper document, we now only give the local towns the changes, any maps that have changes. So we don't keep the old copies out here. in years prior, many years prior, they were always asked for by surveyors or other people. They don't want them anymore. Now they can just go onto our GIS website and they can print out their own of whatever they need. So they don't need to buy a whole town or a whole area. The PDF of a tax map on a CD. Sometimes the surveyors are looking for that type of thing where they can just download that into their computer and that would just go up $1. And the same thing, if they wanted the complete current maps, they could get them for $25 a town. Mailing fee for all maps would go from $1.50 to $3. We're finding we're not mailing a lot out, but what we are between the cost of postage and the map and the casing we have to put it in, or the large size envelope, the additional mailing fees, that has gone up over time. Any questions to this point?
Brian?
Yeah, so Laura, you know, some of these are 20, 30, 50% increases, whatever. Probably the printing itself, just the cost of the ink is probably up considerably in 5 years, isn't it?
Oh, these prices haven't been changed in over 10 years, probably. For most of these tax map prices, our ink cost and our paper cost have increased. So yes.
So will it cover the increases?
Yes.
That's my
Yes.
question.
Yes, they will.
Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Dana Half?
Laura, what year are the aerial photos? Or is it a Google Earth? Is it photos that are 3 years old? I mean, it's not today.
They're not Google Earth, but they're 18, 19, some of them that we have. We've never paid to have Washington County flown because it's quite expensive. So we deal with what we can get from New York State that they give us pretty much for free. So, you know, the zoom in isn't quite as good as a Google Earth. But with these, we also can, you know, superimpose our tax map lines over the top of them, where if you go onto Google Earth or something like that, that's not, you can't do that.
Oh, so this is an airplane photo.
Yes, I wouldn't say an airplane photo. It's usually shot from up above in the type thing. There are some flown.
Okay.
Any other questions for Laura at this point? Okay.
Okay, so the tax rolls and bills, the village, we process village assessment rolls, tax rolls, and bill preparation. And that would be going from $1.25 to $1.50 per parcel. School tax processing, running the programs and printing the tax rolls and bills. We currently charge the schools 75 cents. That would go up to $1 a parcel. There's not currently anybody that we're currently just running the programs for. I do not want to take that out of our fee schedule, but there's just a slight increase in that. And the next thing that was not actually on our fee schedule prior was the tax files, which are the RPS 160D1 files that we sell to the banking industry. We have 3 companies that purchase those. In the past, they were $1,000, and that covered the tax roll information for town and county, school, and village taxes. We send them to 3 different banking organizations, and they used to pay us $1,000. And talking to some of our other, and with me talking to some of the other county directors, some of them are getting $1,500. I did contact all 3 of those and told them that we were looking to increase our price to $1,500 for those files. And I have not heard any response back other than one company just said that that's what we're paying some of the other counties. So we're going to be increasing that. So that would be overall $500 times 3. So there's $1,500 right there that we'll be getting come the first of the year once we approve the payment schedule. We do have initial setup fee for tax bill processing and that kind of stuff. No changes there. The 1-year-old assessment roll. Do you have a question, Bob, for you?
I have a text message here from Cassie that says apparently nobody can hear her. And it says, maybe it should say laminated as an additional fee.
5, just put additional fee, okay.
Yeah.
Yep,
Ryan had a comment.
Yeah, Laura, I don't know how big the bills are to the schools, but it's over a 30% increase. So my question, I mean, if it's a small dollar value, because I don't know how many parcels are in each school district, maybe that's not really a big concern, but if it's a big number, 30% with what the schools are under right now, might be a big thing. So I guess I'm just curious, how big are the school bills to each school?
it would be a per parcel,
Yeah, I don't know how many parcels in
Yeah.
the school district.
yeah, I know, I do have that billing, hold on just one second, let me grab.
You know, I could get much.
Yeah, maybe I'll get quicker.
What size number?
We don't charge for town and county tax bill printing to the towns. We do charge just the schools and the villages. Let me see if I've got that breakdown right here. Let's see. Overall, we take in almost $25,300 overall for each school district. They range in a cost from $329 for Lake George to $4,492.50 for Hudson Falls. Most of them are about $2,000 for your Argyle, Cambridge, Fordham, Greenwich is $2,500, $2,000 Salem, and $2,600 for Wayhall. And then we also do, we provide documentation for the out-of-district school, which are the Hoosick Valley, Hoosick Falls, Stillwater, Schuylerville. And we just charge them a fee for each town. That's only like a $10 fee for that. That's just for the files, and that won't change.
Okay, thank you.
Or excuse me, that will change because that's in our next unit where we're going to charge that from $5 to $7 for the RPS database. Disclosure notices, we haven't done them in a while. We used to do those for out-of-county districts. What I'm recommending is that we do increase that fee from $5 to $7 per town. There's a lot of background work that has to be done in RPS to actually print those notices. So there is a lot of work on our end to compile that data. We may have one town coming up this next year. I've already spoken to the assessor in that town, and she's aware that fee may go up. It would be going from 60 to 70 cents a parcel. Inventory data mailers, we don't do these very often either. Actually, we're doing a reval project, and that would be included in the reval project for the 6 towns. But if somebody wanted us to print data mailers, it would be that fee. The individual assessors can do it on their own as far as, compiling that data. Property record cards is the same thing. New York State used to give us blank property record cards that we could print on in a big printer. We don't do that anymore either. These are just, could be printed out of RPS, and the assessor for each town can also do this if they want to. Down to the GIS, our tax file, our geodatabase with the RPS extract. That's an increase of $75 a town. Right now, we charge $75 a town with a total of like $1,825 to any of these companies that want this information. We'd like to increase this fee because they're paying other counties and other entities, including New York State databases for this at a larger fee, and they usually don't mind paying that because the information they could obtain from our GIS data is crucial for their use. Same thing with if they want an individual database data set with $10. The number 21, the tax parcel database. If you were doing a project in your town or your village, we used to have the town supervisor, the mayor sign off and say, we're going to charge your town $5. where normally they would have had to pay the $1,875. We're gonna eliminate that fee now going forward. So that $5 that your town used to have to pay for that data set for projects by engineering firms or somebody coming in, we're gonna eliminate that, but we are going to still ask for this town supervisor or the mayor to sign off on that, to give us permission to supply this data to your, whoever's working for your town or village, so that we can supply that data at no cost to them, because they're probably just turning around and charging you guys that fee. We've charged that fee for a number of years. We really don't need to, we just need the sign off from you guys and ladies saying that it's okay to supply the data going forward. Tax map certificates number 20 was 21, 22, 23 going forward. Those are fees that are set by New York State. We can't change those fees at all. We did look into that, and that law has not changed. So those are set fees, $25, $50, and $100. And then just some miscellaneous printing, mailing labels, and folding document fees. One other thing I just wanted to go over real quick is we also print survey maps for the county clerk's office. We print them here in our office, and those fees go to the county clerk. Al did look up a number for me for the total amount that we've done so far in 2020, which, as you know, we weren't here for the majority of the time, or for a good portion of 2020. We've taken in over $585 of those fees. We've also about $70 through, I believe, Express Pay. And these are survey maps that are filed in the county clerk's office. So, and they don't have a good printer down there. They used to years ago, but they don't anymore. So if any public or businesses are looking for copies of surveys that come to our office, we print them here on our paper and use our ink. But those fees also do go to the county clerk's office. So that's something else we provide, but there's no revenue in our office for that service.
8.5.
Laura, you mentioned quite often fees to towns, but I think you meant for a map that would be inclusive of the town, not to the town, like a banking institution or something like that. Are you selling anything to organizations that then use that to solicit citizens? I mean, you know how people mine data all the time.
Okay. We sell mailing labels to fire departments. So if they want to have a fundraiser, actually, we just got one in for Hartford the other day, one for Cambridge, and one for Salem. And it's either mailing labels or they're looking for an Excel spreadsheet, and they will send them out to the people who live within your town and ask for donations or give whatever they're doing, a report or spaghetti dinner is, or whatever they may do with that information. But we do sell that type of thing. Is that what you're asking?
But you're not selling data to anybody, are you?
Well, the data is your name and your address, your name and your mailing address.
Okay. Also, there are some charges that go to the township, to the government of the town, some charges somewhere, right? Does that all get swept up into the bill that we get called due county at the end of the year? Is that how you get paid?
I don't have any. If you wanted to come in and get a map from our office for the town of Hartford, we wouldn't charge.
Is there, do you have any charges for the township on anything? Assessor information, things like that?
Well, if we did assessment disclosure notices, or if we ran it, something like that, yes, but a majority of the things that we do for the town are free to the town. Unless
Okay, but how do you get paid by the town? Is it through the process we call due county?
We would invoice you.
Okay.
We would invoice the town.
Right,
Same
thank
thing as
you.
we do for our assessment services. We invoice the town for, for the ones that we do that for. But yeah, if we did property record cards for your town because you wanted all new updated property, we would charge the town through invoicing process.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions for Laura? Just have to go from here to a full board. director?
Finance.
Just the county?
I don't know. More of a Roger.
We'll know before they come out.
Yeah. Why don't you get a motion from government office to, recommend approval of the proposed changes?
Okay, so looking for a motion to recommend the approval of the changes, and we'll go from there. Motion, please.
I'll make a motion if we can see a copy of it at some point. It was kind of hard to follow without something.
Okay, well, I think Debbie sent it out with the, announcement.
It was sent with your agenda,
Okay, thank you.
Sent with the agenda.
but I can give you a copy, Matt. I can bring a copy.
But we can send a copy out. So I got a motion by Matt. Do I have a second? Do I have a second?
I'll make a second, Paul.
Paul made the second. Any further questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
I do have a couple.
Go ahead.
Couple other quick things, Dave, sorry. We are working on our revised totals for the town, so if your town received some, your taxable totals in September, and if there's any revisions, you will be getting them. We've got a couple towns that we just had revisions for. Those would be caused by small claims that are currently happening now, any Article 7s or corrections to your Board of Assessment Review. So those revised totals will be coming to you shortly. And I just wanted to let you know that our count for in September, our total transfers for Washington County are over 229, which is high. They are growing every month, as of course, but when we get over 200, that's a marking here. So just wanted to let you know that we for the month of September, we're over 200 transfers for Washington County.
Oh, good.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Did Al drop off? Oh, there he is, right in front of me. He was hiding behind his sign. So, someone asked a question. They noticed that Warren County had their tax sale on Saturday. What is our plan on tax sale, or why didn't we have one this year? Was a question I received.
I have to follow up with Mr. Wicks. It was his advice to me that we couldn't proceed, so I'm not entirely sure how Warren County's proceeding. Right now,
Not only that, Al, if you remember correctly, they were the first ones to say we couldn't have a tax sale.
yeah,
Warren County.
our review of the executive order was as a direct result of Treasurer Swan's advice to his board that he couldn't have the auction. So I'm not entirely sure what changed in Warren County, but I'll be following up with Roger, and we're still not going to have one. Even if I started today, I couldn't put it together by year end. So.
Okay. Is Roger on, or I see his name? Roger?
Hello.
Hello. Did you hear the question?
I did, and I have no idea what they're doing. So I try not to follow Warren County too closely for obvious reasons, but they weren't, and then they were. So by the time we decide whether we can or not, maybe somebody will have already determined through the courts whether that was permissible or not. But at this point, the way I'm reading that executive order, I don't see how they did that. But then again, I'm not privy to everything that they use to make that decision. So it doesn't make a lot of sense for me to guess.
I don't think I've seen any pre-announcement of it at all, but it just sort of came up in the paper on Friday, and then someone asked a question, so I thought I'd bring it up to see if there's a reason for it, but we'll see.
Yeah, I was as surprised as Al, I think, to see that happen.
And Chairman, just so you know, there's a lot of moving parts in the tax foreclosure auction. We don't know when Warren County got their summary judgment from the judge. It could have been in February, which is a game changer. The new executive order also includes language that you have to have counseling sessions with everybody, like a one-on-one for each homeowner. So there's all kinds of moving parts that we'll get back to you when we know more. But right now, our effort is not to get sued, all right? So we're going to proceed with caution.
No problem. Thank you.
like to have the transfers, the sales that we make at the auctions be valid. Because if you mess it up, you have two unhappy people, the auction purchaser and the taxpayer. And I think we'd like to make sure we do it right the first time so that we don't have further problems.
We're playing with homeowners' homes here, so let's make sure we got it right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, can we get an answer by maybe finance about?
Then get a follow-up, get an answer by,
Is it black or is it white? If it's gray, that's a different story, but it sounds like it's one or the other.
It's fairly gray because we've gotten conflicting reports from even the courts. So I don't think there is a black and white answer. I think that's going to be something you're going to have to determine. If this is number one, the time you want to do it, and then number two, if we can even do it if we want to.
Are there other counties that we can research to find out if they proceeded with it?
I have not heard of anybody else doing it. As a matter of fact, I was surprised to see that because I had conversations with some other counties which indicated that they weren't going to go ahead. So
Just went through my listserv about 2 months ago, and everybody was postponing their auction, so I don't know what's changed.
Yeah, same here.
but then again, Al's right. It depends on where you were in the process. Because if you obtained a judgment, and then if we'd obtained a judgment 2 years ago, or even before March, we would be in a completely different situation than we are right now.
And there was a couple of counties who had summary judgment from January and February who held online auctions. And this year they just put a thing in their auction rules that says, hey, if you buy this property, you can't evict the people that live there under the executive order. So the timing of when you get the order from the judge really matters.
thank you. When you get follow-up information, hopefully you have something more by finance. Thank you. Anything else, Laura?
Nope, I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Other business. Chris, you had some to bring up?
Yeah, I've got one. It's not completely in the GovOps wheelhouse, but it touches on it, so I'd like to bring it up. So I've had 2 conversations with public health over the last probably 5 days, and what they're struggling with is that given the increase in new cases and persons under monitoring, they have reverted back to 7-day-a-week staffing. Obviously, at this point, they've been going 7 months straight. They're just burned out, right? So Kathy and Patty were talking to me about things we could do. What they would like to do, at least as a short-term option, is if the board remembers way back in May, I think when we started having discussions about reopening, coming back into phase 1, each region had to meet certain metrics to be able to get to the various phases. The first phase required us to have a certain number of contact tracers per 100,000 people of population. So we needed like 24, 25 contact tracers. In addition to the public health staff, we trained 18 of our other departmental staff on the online training program to be certified as contact tracers. What public health is requesting at this point is essentially if we could make available those trained contact tracers that are in other departments for potential work on weekends. So there's a lot of details of this. Obviously, it would be up to the department head of the employee and the employee. But I guess before I just went out and started making this happen, I wanted to have a conversation with the board, let you know kind of what the situation facing public health is, what the proposed short-term solution is, and get your feedback or thoughts on doing that. And obviously, if we take my office, for example, I have one employee who's a trained contact tracer. If she's willing to take a weekend shift or two, I would likely flex her time and give her time off during the week. So that's going to hurt my operation in order to help public health. You may get some employees who would like to work their regular Monday through Friday and then do 4 hours on a Saturday as overtime. It's hard to know without having those discussions with the department heads and the employees yet. So kind of at this point, I'm looking for feedback, thoughts, comments, concerns from the board on that proposed course of action.
I made a comment, that's going to alleviate primarily the issue with public health. It's not gonna fix the issue, and this isn't gonna go away for quite a while. And, you know, we need to step in and help them out because a lot of people over there working 7 days a week and it's harder and harder. I think the other thing is most, if I remember correctly, one of the discouraging things is that they are 35-hour employees. So if they work overtime on a weekend, they only get straight pay for the first 5 hours and then time and a half after that. So I agree that from what you said, that we need to at least give a partial fix to it and get people so there's some relief over there. And I think it's very frustrating to them to have to work in a very stressful situation, and it's been going on for 7 months now. It's not getting any relaxing, and probably more pressures on the management staff over there than anyone else. We don't have a lot of time to spend training people or doing other things either, so it's almost a cart before a horse, but I think we need to somehow come up with a better solution to this.
I don't agree.
I think the other thing is, we're talking a 5-hour day or something, is that?
As of right now, it would likely be a 4 to 5 hour day, Saturday and
I
Sunday.
mean, when it first hit my radar, I'm thinking, you know, what are we paying for maybe a differential or something, but, you know, it was funny because someone suggested 50 cents, so like that's $2.50 to give up your Saturday, it's, well, that's a stick in the eye. So I don't know where you get to make it worthwhile to where you don't feel slapped more than anything else. Because I think a department can flex people wherever they want to, you know, and most according to are there labor contracts involved?
There is one union contract involved, yes.
Does that involve everybody or just a few?
A subset.
A subset. So those are things we have to look at too, but yeah, the worst thing in the world would be to slap them like, oh yeah, you really did something, you know, you really went out of your way, maybe 50 cents, big deal. I mean, I guess I feel bad about that. I don't know where the happy medium is. It probably has to be looked at just because they didn't need a second round, but it's coming, I guess.
Well, you know, the numbers have fluctuated and dropped yesterday, but probably for the next week it'll go back up again for the people that need to be reviewed on a daily basis and 7 days a week, and it doesn't really help to, they have other things they have to do in the normal course of business. Without COVID just adds to their workload, and their workload was substantial before that. So I think that this board really needs to find a way to find some relief for them. It's not their choice that they're doing this. It's not our choice they're doing this. It's a mandate that we have to do the contact tracing. And if it gets into other areas such as vaccination and testing clinics, we're still going to have more pressure on them. So I think that, you know, I don't think we need a resolution to go ahead and hire the people, but I think that sometime we should deal with this on a long-term basis. Bob?
I think it makes imminent perfect sense to use people we've already got trained to help out and do the contact tracing. And that's, you know, a good decision on basis of the supervisors over in public health, but they need more help.
Agreed.
We've got to get some more people hired over there and in there and working. We've got this for another year or so at least, and we're going to wind up damaging our people over there. We've really got to hire some more people over there.
I completely agree.
So, Bob, would you suggest a flat number if you work a weekend day on top of the regular? How would you go about that?
I guess it would depend a lot on the you know, the individual and what they want. If somebody wants an extra day off during the week and work on Saturday, you know, God love them, go do it. If they're working on a Saturday in addition, they ought to be getting overtime.
Well, they would.
So
I think that's what we're trying to figure out, though, is which way we take it. Because you can force them to flex the days.
Well,
So there's
I think ask them if they want to flex the day.
There's two issues. So if you require flex, right, that would mean, I'll use an example. You give them Wednesday off and require them to work on Saturday. morale eroder at that point, long-term, is you're making somebody work on a Saturday for their regular pay. But they are getting a weekday off, so.
But
like you said,
you're damaging the department.
Correct. You run that risk long-term. There are some employees, the 40-hour employees, if they work a standard Monday through Friday, if they come in for 4 hours on Saturday, those 4 hours are at overtime, to your point. So the kind of trickier one is you've got an employee who's 35 hours. They work their regular contingent Monday to Friday. You ask them to come in for 5 hours on Saturday. They get paid for those hours, but they're at straight time. That's because we do have a number of not the nurses, but the other staff are 35 hours. So that's just, there's a lot of moving parts.
Well,
Maybe something else we ought to consider is making everybody in public health 40 hours too.
Yep.
I wasn't strongly in favor of the 35-hour thing when we did it.
Well, I certainly think that their normal duty schedule has been almost, I would say, increased by 25, 40%. The contact tracing, all the COVID-related matters, is that an estimate? Maybe it's doubled, I don't know. In some cases, probably doubled.
Yeah. I can't put a percentage on it, but it is a very significant increase.
But we also have a department that is a department we need to have doing critical duties. We also face a point that if we work these people too much, we may have unplanned retirements or unplanned changes to staff that would come up. And I think that's something that we can't burn these people out when we need them.
So I don't disagree with Chairman O'Brien on that. I just want to say I've not heard that from anyone in the department. They are not threatening to retire or leave. And I think they feel very passionately that this is, public health ground zero, and this is what they're in this career for, and they want to do it. So I don't want the impression that they're trying to say, if this is too much, we're going to quit. However, I do think there's a lot of validity to Mr. O'Brien's point. You can only push somebody so hard, and I think they are just exhausted.
And I was planning to say that.
No, I know you weren't. I just wanted to clarify that.
Future, that's potential could happen. Not saying anyone's saying that, but that's potential could happen if people get worn out so much that it starts affecting their health.
Yes, I completely agree.
Or their family life. So I think those are danger things that it's our responsibility to help fix.
Yeah,
Mr. Hicks,
So the issue is you could have 35-hour per week person in one department who would get paid X, 40-hour a week person who would get paid Y, and potentially a salaried exempt person who would get paid Z, and there's no equity there. So wouldn't it be better to just set a flat fee, like an on-call fee, to say if they come in, no matter who they are, they get paid A, and just determine what that A is?
That's a possibility, yeah.
but I
Make
think
it worth their while just because it relieves the pressure that is over there. So it won't make it different what category you're in. They're all gonna get the same amount.
Well, I think that, yes, I think that using the other departments is gonna help. Yes, helping get some more equity in what we're doing to help them out. But I think those are only two fixes. I think there's a third fix that needs to be taking place to supplement the staff over there. So this is not a conversation we're having now, but, this is something we definitely should do someplace in the next committee meeting.
Well, so that's why I wanted to start the conversation today. There are several different solutions. What I'm positing today, and if there are no objections, we will start putting this in place this afternoon, and that is trying to get the 18 trained individuals from other departments to help relieve on the weekend, right? Then in Health and Human Services next week and Finance in early November, I think we should have some conversations about what, if anything, we would send to the board in November to do a larger fix. Because obviously, Mr. Hicks's thought of like a per diem rate to come in is great, but the only way to implement that is through a full board meeting, right? So short of a special, let's talk about it in Health and Human Services, Finance, and then hopefully come up with a solution that we can implement at the November board meeting.
But in the meantime, we've started weekends already.
So the public health staff has already been working weekends. Between today And the November board meeting, unless there are objections, I am going to try to implement using our trained other staff to help relieve on the weekend. So we can give them some short-term, immediate relief, hopefully, and then come up with a more sustainable, long-term solution by the November board meeting.
How was your plan between now and November board?
So what would happen if I use my staff as an example, right? So if my staff member tells me that she will volunteer for a Saturday shift, but it, you know, two different scenarios. She volunteers for a Saturday shift and says, but I'll still work Monday through Friday for you. She would get paid her normal overtime hourly rate for that Saturday shift. If she volunteers and says, I'll do the Saturday shift, but in order to offset that, can I have Thursday off? I'll say yes. She'll get paid her regular hourly straight wage for that Saturday shift because I gave her Thursday off.
Same hours?
No, it won't be. So if it was gonna be 5 hours on Saturday, I'd give her 5 hours off on Thursday.
But wouldn't it be different in all different departments?
Yes,
So that between now and November board meeting, there would be no equity.
correct. The only way to try to implement equity is through an action of the full board.
Is your meeting next, you're having the budget meeting the 28th, that is a finance meeting or a board meeting to present the budget?
Budget presentations, when you do your budget.
Budget presentation,
Presentation is after helping him.
is that a finance meeting or a special board meeting?
It's finance, but it could be both, it has to be, I mean, we probably got time to notice there, or no?
Well, I mean, that's up to the chairman, call a board.
Yeah, it's 8 days from now.
Yeah, there's time to notice, that's not an issue.
That would be the only issue, is getting it noticed.
Wouldn't that be an avenue of a solution? So you just have this weekend to deal with in that normal regard, and we have a solution for start the following week.
It gives us an opportunity for Chris to meet with, public health, figure out a solution, come to HHS, we could vet it in HHS, and then we could go to a full board meeting on the Wednesday afternoon, and if we would schedule one, we'd have a solution at that point, at least we have the ability to have a solution put in place. Is that a good thought process?
Yep.
Which we had the budget, up right now.
But is it a problem? Have we got a problem right now with people being concerned that, with what their rate of pay is on the weekends?
Well, the people who are not in public health are working weekends as of yet, correct?
Correct.
And this upcoming weekend, it'll probably still be public health.
And the
If we
big,
get it next week, then the following weekend, you can start implementing non-public health contact tracers going forward.
My hope is that I can get non-public health staff to work this upcoming weekend.
I think the concern is the long-term impact or short, medium-term impact on the department they're taking people from. It's a partial solution. I think we need a more robust solution to fix this because it's not going away for at least the next 6 to 9 months.
But don't you think we'll figure the dike now and then bring the excavators in, when we have time to bring excavators in to fix it then?
That's what he's talking about, is bringing the short-term fix in, starting today. He does not, he does,
Time, one or the other.
So and that'll work for a
That's an
weekend.
easy one.
That'll work for a weekend or two.
Yeah, that's an easy one, that one. Because you got flex time or overtime, it's one or the other, yeah.
but that's with the non-department, that's with the non-PHS
Yes.
departments.
Yep.
So then it'd be determination whether we want you to follow the secondary plan, if we have some sort of implementation to bring to HHS, and then have a full board meeting on the 28th to discuss some of the other solutions.
Yes, so I will work with public health and the incident management team will come up with, trying to implement what we just talked about and come up with a real solid, longer-term solution to discuss in depth at HHS. So as many board members as we could get at HHS would be fantastic. And then we will coordinate with the budget officer and the chairman about the 28th, to see if we have something. And obviously, as the personnel chairman, we will keep you involved as well.
And Melissa?
Yes.
Okay, so this has come up really quick,
Yep.
and so it involves last weekend, the coming weekend, and probably another weekend before it's all up. Is there also still an opportunity that this will go back to where it was?
So I think we were,
Because you're doing on-call now, right?
we'd had on-call for a while. It was a
Right.
couple weeks ago that on-call got overwhelmed. And they went back to 7 day a week. They've been doing 7 days a week for a couple weekends now, and they're seeing the burnout in their staff. We had kind of hoped, right, because we got over the initial wave, we started to get better in the summer, and our PUMs were way down, so we kind of went back to on-call. What killed us then was the travel advisory, because that generated all those extra PUMs. So then our numbers went way back up. And we were kind of looking forward to this time of year, feeling like, okay, the travel is really gonna lessen this time of year, we'll get some reprieve. What we found is that the PUMs that are generated from schools are far greater in magnitude than the travel ones were. So the travel ones have started to reduce, but now the PUMs from the schools have exploded.
Glad I asked a question, because now it kind of makes more sense.
Yeah, so we thought we were gonna get some respite, and we're finding that we're not going to.
Dana Hogan.
So Chris, you just referenced the PUMs as a result of travel, correct?
Yes,
That increased the volume with our county tracing system?
yes.
Okay, so I was under quarantine for 2 weeks as a result of travel. I don't recall getting one phone call from the county.
You should have, if I understand correctly, your initial contact and what they call the PHI, or the Public Health Investigation, should have been conducted by our staff. Once that initial PHI and contact was done, it should have been over to ComCare.
To my recall,
Okay.
it wasn't. It was a woman named Sophia out of Schenectady. So that's why I'm just curious that who's doing this tracing? I signed up for the text tracing, so I got texts every day. Nobody called me. The initial phone call, again, was not a member, it was not a Washington County representative that I can recall, nor did my wife. She didn't get a phone call from Washington County either.
Probably because.
Who are they calling?
Came off the plane and signed it at Albany Airport, it may have been taken care of before it got to Washington County.
I don't know, I would have to look into that, because I know in my discussions with public health, once we engaged the ComCare system, our normal course of action was that the initial contact with the person under monitoring and the initial public health investigation was conducted by our staff. Once that contact list and the level of exposure was determined, then it was handed over to ComCare's. I would have to ask, I mean, what Matt mentioned could be correct, I honestly don't know.
So to further, I guess, just elaborate on something I was curious about, you indicated that we have 18 people trained throughout the county who are not members of public health, is that correct?
Yes.
All right, how long ago were they trained and have they been utilized since that date? Or is this just something we're just going to start using them?
Yeah, they have not been utilized, they were trained, I believe it was back in May.
So I guess my question is, and this is not to second guess anybody, but why are we waiting till now for this burnout issue that's coming up? Why weren't these people who had voluntarily trained, correct? Because it wasn't like they were forced to do this. Why didn't we utilize them earlier? Why did we wait this long?
We were going to until the ComCare system became available, and then the discussion with public health was that the ComCare system did work pretty seamlessly with public health, and then it lessened the potential operational impact to other departments. So at that point, public health felt that they could cover what was coming. And again, I think at the time we kind of thought it was a short-term spike, and it hasn't turned out to be that way.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any comments on that? Do we have a direction you need? Thanks, Chris. Okay. Anything else come before the board, or the committee, I'm sorry? One heads up, I think the chairman got a call and he talked to me yesterday, is that apparently that some of the solar companies have negotiated some pilots, some towns and schools, and are requesting to come to the county to ask the county to opt out or opt back in to the system so they can get a pilot from the from the county also. That's just a heads up. We have not received that yet, but the direction of the chairman was because Real Property Services falls under government ops to come here and to start the conversation, and just a heads up, I'm not sure that,
The chairman also explained that there would have to be a letter from the supervisor of the town that wanted to come, and a letter from the school district, and looking for that, so that, knowing what the county's been through with these solar companies in the past, put your big boy pants on, up at the table if you really want something, because it doesn't mean we're still gonna help you, but, bring it on your own, don't expect us to bring it up for you.
no, I wasn't. I just wanted to make the committee aware that this may be coming up. Dana Hogan, or Dana Happ, I'm sorry.
Just like how the IDA kept considering pilots, even though they had a standing resolution not to, I think Washington County has a standing resolution or policy not to. So I don't want to start entertaining ideas to change things just because somebody requests it. I think the reasoning why we opted out, the county, still stands, unless somebody can educate me as to something has greatly changed that we need to consider. Otherwise, to me, it's just a request from somebody. And if you have a rule not to do something and you waive it the first time somebody asks you not to, then it's not much of a rule.
It was simply a heads up, Dana. We have no formal request at this point. Anything else come before the committee?
Dave, but you're talking about it. That's the first step through the door, is talking about it. And you can say, we're considering, not considering. You just tell them, no, thank you. Bye-bye.
Brian?
I'd like to consider that we take it one step further and say, we're an agricultural county, and we're not interested in solar arrays on farmland. I'd like to go there, but I don't know that anyone else wants. So I've thrown that out, we're talking about.
Dana Hogan.
Dave, you brought it up. So who's asking for this? What company's asking?
I didn't take the phone call. Sam?
Yes, I took the message, and it was the town of Easton and the school district in Greenwich. And it was just a phone call, a heads up they were going to be asking, and we haven't received anything formally on it yet.
Laura?
So the town of Easton and the Greenwich School District, Sam, they are already doing pilots or discussing doing pilots on their own. So now they're want the county to go along with it?
That's correct.
Okay,
That's correct.
thank you.
That's my understanding.
Just say no. Don't bother.
Okay. Dana?
Does Washington County have an ag and farmland protection plan like the town of Hartford or something similar to that?
Yes, we do.
What, I would like to see that. I don't know what it would, what it says, but is there anything in there that would run counter to taking land out of agriculture and put it into commercial solar use? If we have a ag protection plan and a farmland protection plan, I think it should do what it says, protect farmland, which is where these solar companies are targeting, because it's already a wide open expanse that you don't have to deforest farmland. It's already cleared. There probably aren't trees in the way unless you put a panel right next to a hedgerow. That's why they are coming here, because Washington County is an ag and farmland county. But if we're going to protect our ag and farmland, I would like to see the wording in our plan to see if it actually says anything about that. Could I get a copy of that?
Dana, everybody was given a copy, every town, when the plan was completed.
Can I get it again? Because I bet I don't have it.
Sure. Someone get to you.
Thank
Matt?
This is about whether we want solar arrays on farmland or not. It's whether we want to give them tax breaks.
Correct.
We've said, pay your fair share, we're not gonna give you a pilot. Fine, we've made that declarative statement, there it is. If they still wanna go ahead with the solar array on farmland, let them go ahead, it's gonna pay their fair share. I think we stop there instead of getting deeper in the weeds about whether it's valid or not valid to use solar arrays on this property or that property. Just let them pay their fair share.
Thank you, Matt. Well said.
If they had to pay their fair share, they wouldn't be coming. That's bottom line.
I'm not going there, but that's,
Okay. Anything else from the committee? Meeting adjourned.
Should we leave on here, Debbie, or just let you shut it off?
Oh, you can hit leave.
Okay. I didn't know how you wanted to handle these computers.
Carefully.
Carefully.
I went too far. No, you gotta say